You can ask me, and then if she wants to come up and answer it, she will.
I think the First Lady received a grand jury presentment, and what did it say about the role of Florida?
I haven't received anything, but, you know, I think we said at the beginning it was a political op, it was a hoax, and now that, you know, we're at this point, clearly that was true. You know, our agencies, you know, acted in ways that were legally sound and appropriate. That's just the fact, and the fact that, you know, you wouldn't even have opened one with DOJ. There was no basis to even do it, I think is really, really telling. It was all a political scam, and there was a political agenda. And it was obviously a very partisan media who do this type of thing. But you also had some of these rhino Republicans in the legislature who were trying to do this. And, you know, part of it was just to try to smear the First Lady by implication. She wasn't involved in any of the settlement or any of that. I mean, that's just not nonsense. But, you know, the media will try to do that because it's just trying to get clicks and trying to smear. So I think like any of the coverage was typically horrific, and it was agenda-driven. But this, we obviously knew this. This was an attempt at lawfare to be able to do. What does that say about some of the people who are in this process that they're trying to do weaponization, even on the Republican side? That's the thing. When you have a supermajority, they're really not all Republicans, right? I mean, they have their own agendas, and so that's kind of what we've seen on this. I also think it's important to point out, people would try to say that somehow she has a charity. She does not have a charity. They wanted people to say that there was a donation made to her charity, and she never, not one dime. She wasn't involved in any of that. It's a sanctioned charity for the state of Florida, our Department of Children and Families, and 99% of the money has gone to grants. Nobody got any money. So that whole thing was obviously not true based on the facts, but I think that was kind of what people wanted you to think, that somehow, oh, nobody got money. Certainly she did. And it also shows a lot of ignorance, and especially in the media, because when she launched Hope Florida years ago, it had nothing to do with a charity. It was, we have state agencies, we have an approach that we have to try to improve in terms of how do you lift people up, particularly with child welfare and child poverty. And you can continue doing what's been done for many decades, which is focus on government bureaucracy, handing out checks, and the bureaucrats interfacing with people in need that way, or you can recognize that, you know, we've got a lot of great resources exterior to government. We have churches, we have charities, we have businesses, we have individuals that want to volunteer. And so the concept of Hope Florida, it's not a bureaucracy, it never costs any money to the taxpayers, was we're going to repurpose those existing government workers, and instead of trying to get people on government assistance, we're going to try to get them linked with some of these groups. And so, you know what, if someone comes in need and the church knows that they need help, church comes and gets them, they're going to be much more likely to have self-sufficiency and to be able to lift themselves up as a result of having people in the community actually care for them, instead of just like an interpersonal, take the check, come back, don't do the check, don't do that. And so that was really, that's what it's all about. Now, the DCF, the foundation, you know, that's to supplement that mission, but that's like 1% of what Hope Florida has done. And that was never, and when we were doing this and when we were having people being helped, you know, a lot of these media organizations who tried to smear, they never even covered this. Like, we literally would have these ladies crying, saying they had nowhere else to turn, and that because of this initiative, they were able to get on their feet because they have this group or that group that came and did it. So what it really is it's the one conservative approach to fighting poverty that actually has shown an ability to work. And so, you know what the left is going to do on that. They want as many people on government assistance as possible. Now, they've been doing that since the 1960s. How has that worked out? Hasn't worked out well. Then you have a lot of people on the right. They have no ideas at all how to tackle these things. They have no approach. Well, this is actually an approach, you know, that worked. And I think a lot of people are threatened by that because we have embraced the faith community, and I'm proud of doing that. You know, they're not going to do that in Oregon or in Massachusetts. That's fine. But here in Florida, we're showing that it works. And so I think it's been very, very successful. And, you know, people, you know, and the work has gone on in spite of, you know, some people trying to throw food fights. And there's been more and more that's been done. So now you have 33,000 people that have eliminated or reduced their dependence on government assistance because you have activated these other organs of society that have been in and have filled this really important role, and that saved the taxpayers, over $100 million as a result of doing that. So that's been a huge success. And then again, our agencies and the settlement agreements they do was all legally sound. That was clear from the beginning. But that whole thing is really just part of 1% of like a much larger effort that has really transformed people's lives from the beginning. And so we're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to expand, and we're going to continue to work hard to help people.
Did the First Lady testify?
No. Why would she have? She wasn't.
No, she didn't testify.
Why would she have?
I'm asking you if she did.
I'm asking you, why would she have?
Do you have her involvement with Florida?
She wasn't involved in anything that they were alleging. Zero involvement in anything they were alleging. Now, what they were alleging was BS, but zero involvement, not 1 cent. It wasn't her charity. Some of you people said she had her own charity. She never had her own charity. This is the state of Florida's charity that our Department of Children and Families has, just like our Education Department has a charity, just like our Corrections has a charity, because there are things you can do through that, or they can do through that, that work. And so anytime you guys are trying to link her to that, you're lying to people. You're intentionally trying to smear, because people like you don't like the fact that this is a conservative approach that is embracing the faith community. You don't want the faith community involved in this. That's not where your orientation or your political philosophy. I get it. I understand that. But the reality is what she's done has been very successful. And so any inclination that somehow she was involved in anything is just false. And that's been true from, if you looked at it 5 minutes after this started to make news, anybody who was honest would have said that. And yet I wonder why you can't bring yourself to say the same thing. Yes.